Hello everyone. So this is the first class of elementary Chinese. So let us start with what most of us have heard about Chinese language when they start to learn Chinese. Most of us has a notion that Chinese is a difficult language. So first of all, Chinese is not at all a difficult language, but it certainly is a language that is different. This language is different from the languages that you have learned so far. And how is it different? We'll come to it in a while. So before that, let us understand the language families and the languages we know so far. So languages work in families. Oh, families. Oh, families. Okay, sorry. Family. Okay, so language work in families. Most common language families that we know are Indo-European language families. This is the most widely spoken language family in the world. It includes most of the Northern Indian languages, most of the European languages. Then we have heard about Dravidian language families, most of the southern languages. These are Dravidian language families. Then there are African language families, Australian language families, not the English ones, the native ones. Then American language families also, and many more. Chinese belong to a language family that is called Sino Tibetan. It has originated and evolved in a different way, in a very different way from all other languages. Okay, how is it different? Most of the languages that we know are spoken first. So, first, these languages originated in the spoken form, which means in the form of sounds and syllables. So, syllables make sound, making words, and making sentences with arrangement of words called grammar. After this language reach a certain level of uh, sophistication, then their written script is given to various sounds and a written form is originated by which this language can be taught to other peoples in a systematic way. Chinese language originated in a different way. It started as a written first, which means first the written form came into being and then a spoken sound or system was assigned to them. So Chinese is the oldest language that is still evolving. Now, there might be many languages that could be older than Chinese, maybe Latin, Greek, Sanskrit, but all these languages are not evolving. Chinese is a language that is still evolving. What does being evolving means? It means it has a high number of speakers, more than 1 billion native, and so many of them as second learners. Then it is being used a lot in business transactions. In fact, if you move out in Asia these days, Chinese is the language of communication. So if you understand a bit of Chinese, you will be able to communicate throughout Asia. Then it's research. Chinese are doing a lot of research. In fact, they are filing a majority of patents, and these patents are in the innovative domains of artificial intelligence, 5G, um, blockchains, these kind of technologies. So they are doing this research and they are doing it in their language, which means they are using their scientific terminology, their own nouns and concepts. So that is what makes Chinese learning Chinese very important. Now we come to the first part. This is the oldest language, and how exactly old is it? It is somewhere around 3,000 plus years old, and it started as a writing first language, which means they started writing it. And how they started writing it, they gave direct pictograms. So whatever they saw, They drew it and their characters originated. So whatever they saw, they gave it a picture and they were able to communicate. So first things that they would communicate is the things that would help them in survival. Most of the geographical things. It could be sun, moon, fire, water, mountain, a big animal or some kind of animals. These kind of things that they needed to survive, to communicate to survive. Okay, look at this. So this is a horse. This is how a horse looks like. They took the outline and converted it into this character. Now this is the way to write horse in traditional Chinese. This is not traditional. What is traditional, what is simplified, will come it in a while. So they took the lines, basic lines, and created their characters. So this is how a mouth looks. This is kind of a semicircle. Writing semicircles is difficult, so they converted it into a square form. This is a tree, took the outlines and converted it into this character. So if you have to write a character, write tree, you will draw this character. And how this is how a tree would be written. Let us call this stage one of evolution of language, where they are using simple symbols for very basic things. Let me give you some more basic symbols. Okay, this is the symbol for sun. Sun is round in shape. Writing round shapes is difficult, so they make it rectangular. And the middle part, if you look at sun, the middle part is very hot and bright. So you cannot see that. It looks like a straight line. This is sun. Then this is moon. Moon, in traditional cultures, we have always seen moon as a semicircle, half moon only, never full moon. So this is a moon. Then this is very obvious. This is a mountain, two lines in one plane. The other line is higher. This is how to write mountain. Some more. This is water. This is taken from the image of a river. So the straight line is the flowing river, and the lines in left and right, these are tributaries and distributaries. This is water. This looks like a bonfire with flames coming out from left and right. This is heart. So some of us who would have studied biology. These are arteries and veins. These three lines you see, these are arteries and veins of a heart. This is a pictorial representation of heart. So this was the stage one when they were drawing very simple images to convey the ideas. Now from this, we derive one basic characteristic of Chinese language, which we must remember at all times while learning Chinese. That is, in Chinese, the characters, or what we call alphabets in English, these represent ideas directly. The Chinese character represents ideas directly, whereas the alphabets in other languages, they represent only sound. What does that mean? For example, if I ask what is this and you don't know English, you would reply this is a simple drawing of three lines, one line slanting up, another slanting down, and third one horizontal. So this is nothing but a simple drawing representing a sound A as in apple. It does not mean anything in itself. But if I write a Chinese character like this, now this is not representing a sound. This is directly representing the idea of a sun. This difference you must remember every time you learn Chinese, you start learning Chinese, that Chinese characters are not representing sounds as is done in majority of the languages. It is direct representation of ideas. So now we come to the stage two of language evolution. Now they want more ideas. They have survived, they are living somewhat better. Now they want more images. So what they did, they combined the previous images, drew some more, and increased their vocabulary. So let us look at this. So this is the sun and moon put together. Now they put together sun and moon, made a new drawing, And they called it the word for brightness because there were only two things that gave them brightness. One was sun, the other was moon. Similarly, this is the image of a person from stage 1. Now they added another line to this person to denote big. So if you see this image, it actually looks like a person who is stretching his hands out to tell that there is something big. Then they further changed this image or modified this image to this, adding another line. Now this is again big, but there is a line that is above big to denote that there is even some power bigger than the big person. So this is the word for God or sky or emperor. So this is how they started expanding their languages, increasing their symbols, increasing the ideas, the pictograms. Now, one challenge with this kind of language is that your drawings had to be limited, otherwise it would become confusing, which happened with Chinese language also. Chinese language, the drawings become complicated over time. So these becomes like this. So it turned out difficult to write. So these were not now simple images like this. These diagrams become complicated. And it was a problem for Chinese people also. So they have to find a way. So they decided we have to simplify our language. So in 1914, they changed the script by removing certain characters based on certain principles, and they called it simplified script. Simplified script these days is used all over China. The traditional script, the earlier script, is right now only used in Taiwan and parts of Singapore. This was about the written part. So we have not spoken so far about the spoken part. What about the spoken form? Because Chinese drawings, the characters were pictograms, so there was no misunderstanding in conveying this because they were written, which means the written form was uniform throughout China. Now we know after every 100, 200 kilometers, there is a change in dialect, change in the way somebody is speaking the same word. Now this problem was overcome because the characters were written, so there was no confusion in the writing part, but the spoken part still changed. So suppose this is the image of sun. If this is the image of sun, everybody understands that this is sun. But somebody from the north may be pronouncing it as an aeroplane, and somebody from south might be pronouncing as if something else. Let's say vegetable. No correlation at all. Absolutely different. So the written symbol is same, but the person from north is writing, the person from south is able to understand, but both are speaking in a very different language with no correlation at all. Now again, Chinese tried to convert or find a way out to this. So they made one language compulsory for everybody to learn. So they said everybody must learn Mandarin that is spoken in Beijing dialect. So now Mandarin also has a lot of variation, more than 100 variations. But the Mandarin that is spoken in Beijing dialect is taken as standard. If we give a similarity, suppose in India, if somebody says that Hindi spoken in New Delhi, that should be the standard. Hindi has a lot of variations. Rajasthan has a different kind of Hindi. Haryana has a different. Himachal, Uttar Pradesh, these have different variations of Hindi. But somebody if says that Hindi spoken in New Delhi would be the standard one, that would become a standard. So similarly, Mandarin that is spoken in Beijing dialect is taken as standard and everybody is expected to learn. So this is now what we are going to learn, what everybody in China learns and every foreign student or second learner also learns. That is Mandarin spoken in Beijing dialect and simplified script. This is what we are going to learn. And how we are going to learn it? We are going to learn it the HSK way. HSK is the standard qualification test, assessment test for Chinese language. The level 1, the basic, consists of only 150 words. Compared it with Japanese, Japanese elementary and 5 has 800 words. Chinese has only 150 words in basic level because you have to understand 150 of these symbols, their meanings, and their pronunciations. Then there is HSK 2, which has a vocabulary of 300 words. 3 has a vocabulary of 600 words, 4 1200, 5 2500, and 6 5000. HSK 1 and 2 are basic levels, 3 and 4 are intermediate, 5 and 6 are expert levels. This is how we are going to proceed with HSK 1. Okay, any questions, queries, or doubts, please ask.